on so many different aspects of Black lives, if you will. And I saw people nodding as, both of you were speaking. So I sense that definitely this is something that touched people. So with that, I'm going to just go ahead. We're just going to have a group discussion. Initially the conversation, the question was, what does Black History Month mean to you, to me, as an African, an immigrant of African descent today in the United States? So we've had this opportunity to listen to these two bright minds of our own community. So my question, I'm throwing it out to you. What does it mean to you as an immigrant? Okay, I see Emma is at the, go ahead, Emma.
Hi, everybody. How are you? My name is Emma Awa. Part of Black history, I think, is also the standardized lack of trust we have between our communities. That is also part of Black history, strangely enough, because there have been efforts to separate the Africans who come here from the ancestral Africans who have been here. And when I think about it, another angle of history that we carry is the burden of Blackness, right? Now, who shares in this burden of Blackness? Do we carry our fair share? A lot of times the biggest challenge we have when you're an immigrant to come to America is to get an education and get a job. And the other Blacks who live here, they carry much more than getting an education and getting a job. There's a whole lot more burden that Blackness throws on us by default, whether we like it or not. Like Clara said the other day, she didn't become Black until she came to America because, we don't think of ourselves like that when we're on the continent, So who carries in that burden? And I think framing Black history from not just what is officially not taught, but it's also the history of all the interplay between all of us Black people has been through the years, whether it is the resentment people have because they think Africans, I'm speaking of African Americans now, who think Africans sold them into slavery. And they have very deep unresolved issues. And usually Africans have zero answers. We have no idea what we're talking about when that comes to our table. We have no answer. We don't know what to say. We make up stuff, and it's not really the answer. It's almost better to say, I don't know, And so that is also part of Black history. That is an ingrained part of Black history because, there's always going to be this location of emotion, and we have our own part and they have their own part. And it's because we don't have adequate answers to understand. I talk about, when people ask me about the Africans who sold other Africans into slavery, I say yes, but I always respond like, there are no African-made ships leaving Africa. All the ships were coming from Europe. Which means, yes, some people, participated, but those people were not the enterprise. The enterprise was European. It's not an equitable discussion. That might seem like a deflection for people, but it is the fact. You have to look at, as much as we know, we have to look at some facts, and the ones we don't know about, we just admit that we don't know, and we have culpability. But it has to come right back to what is the modern day Black burden? What is this burden we all carry? And are we carrying our own share? That's kind of my contribution.
Thank you very
Thank
much,
you.
Jamie, for that. Thank you. Something to think about, definitely. Anybody else?
I'm going to say something. Thank you for sharing that experience. Right now, I am working on a paper reflecting on the accusation that Black people sold their brothers. In the history of humanities, we have wars, conflicts, where people betrayed their brothers. But it is only when it comes to the Black community, when you have such an institutionalized discourse. And in my paper, I am reflecting on the occupation of Germany in France. And there you clearly see how other French people, because they were hungry, they were betraying their community or anyone that was against the German government were betrayed, sometimes by French people, but no one ever talk about it. When it comes to the issue of untouchable people in the Western world, we know what happened, but no one ever talk about those who were complicit, who tried to escape, were able to pass, but when it comes to Black people, they are always, you're always fighting amongst you. You sold your brother. And when it comes to even conflicts in Africa, I'm like, we know two countries that had a war for a century. They don't talk about it. They just turn their eyes to Africa because it is easy to blackmail, to curse, to demonize Black people. And there is an historian who unfortunately passed away 1 year ago, Kalala Umutunde, who clearly said that no, there were no slavery in Africa. They are the one who brought it. Before the white people came to Africa, the term slavery did not exist. So that's something we need to think about it. And this month should be, as the other Stephanie said, it's a world history, and it's a moment for us to really think about our history. That's a problem. The problem is because in African school, we don't talk about it. There is no Black politics, no Black lobbying to bring together all the community to talk about it. And we really need to talk about that.
Absolutely, I agree with that. And it's from the perspective that we are really facing serious targeted propaganda in the opposite direction that is very, very heavy. Like I really thank you for that contribution, because the more we know about the circumstances pre the coming of the Europeans, the better we can have this discussion, because in today's age, we should be able to have an answer in 2 to 3 sentences when we are confronted by this problem. But we don't have, it's not, it's a long discussion, and we'll still be looking for things to add that, they may not even resonate with, you know what I mean, in the conversation. So I appreciate that you're working on this, and please share when you get done. Maybe there's a way we can get direct words we can use to, push this conversation in a different direction anytime we are confronted with it.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you both. And along with the same vein, Stephanie, there is a question that will pose right after your presentation. So the question is, in your capacity, what okay, so if I understand, and please clarify this for me, what are the lead roles to extend this to Africa? So if I understand correctly, is Robert, are you asking how we're going to basically share this message on the continent? Please clarify that for us. If you're able to speak.
You said
Okay.
yes.
Yes, how we're going to do that. Okay, Stephanie, do you have some insights?
As I was saying previously, it is important, as one of our activists has been fighting for years, we need to have a day in Africa to commemorate what happened to us. And in our school, we need to really have a curriculum to talk about the Black history. We are from Cameroon, and most of us here, In school, we learn everything. I know everything about the Japanese, the Chinese history, but when it comes to the Black history, I do know it because at the university, I did African literature and cultures. That's why I discovered most of the stuff, even the fact that Egypt was Black. Till now, many Black people do not know about it. We need to review our curriculum, and our leaders, political leaders need to do something. And more we see in Africa, there is a lot of fights to really have the real independence. And I think that if we have a president who are Africans fighting for the interests of African, the school curriculum is going to change. And that's where we can have that type of conversation. And here in America, we see sometimes group of African Americans going back to memory site. I think that it is important for us to go together with them. And that may be a small circle where we start thinking about this. I spent 6 years in Virginia, and thanks to the visit of the KKK, the Black community has to come together, and we have all those discussions. Others saying that I cannot grade you as an African because you sold us. Other people saying that no, we are all Black people, we are struggling, we have the same issues. It's important for us to build our own lobbies. We're talking about the fact that when we see our artists or Black who are billionaires, they put their money to improve and to grow the business of white people. I'm like, what are we doing? We have some people like Oprah. What are Black people with their money doing? What can we not try to use our wealth to target the sectors that will be benefit from us? So we really need to have that conversation, both in America, in Africa, in the Caribbean, everywhere where we have Black people. But how are we going to where are we going to start? We have already started it in school, through conferences. We are talking about it, and more we need to bring those issues in social media. Instead of seeing our young kids going there to dance, that's where we can develop platforms where we talk about our history. And I know that there are some platform already online doing that, and we need to see them more and more. With the time, I hope that things will change in the right direction.
Thank you. Eric, you have a contribution?
Yeah, I'm sorry I can't put my video. I'm at work now, and Patricia sent me the link a few minutes ago.
Okay.
And I'm Eric Impion. I live in US, I think, for like 14 years now. I'm originally from DRC, Congo, and actually completing my master's degree in museum studies. And I will explain you why I'm doing museum studies. And for years now, I think 5 years now, I work with my team. I'm in Congo and in France and in US to reconnect Black community, African American community in US and there in Africa. So we host a lot of international conferences in Congo, in Kinshasa, and for years now. And we put together government, president staff, UNESCO, museum experts, historian, and also some African American friends. We invite them from US to attend our conferences. We also, in order to change things, because I may live here, I may complain about history, but if we do nothing back home, nothing will change. Someone said earlier about changing history curriculum is one of the job I'm trying to do, because it's crazy to see that and my son in US learned about what happened in Congo during slavery, but in Congo they don't teach our kids in Congo about slavery. So it's something crazy. So from our conferences and advocacy we did over there for years now, we now move to create, to build the first slave trade museum of Central Africa. That's actually we work on it, and we I think in May we will train the team in Congo, like 20, 25 people in museum, job, art, history, and how they can manage the project over there. At the same time, I decided to do museum studies because it's sometimes hard to trying to express history, express what you learn about your research using other people. And so I decided myself to do museum studies, and I will do African studies in PhD by I think next year to get everything done. So the museum will open. It will be a museum, it will be a research center, and at the same time you'll be so everything you said about African history, we do that in Congo. But at the same time, what I find strange is when you do this kind of job, sometimes you find help. It's easy to find white people help you than Black people. I do that for years. I invest my own money, and it's crazy to see that white people help us more to teach our own history than Black people. So I think it's good to say what people does to us or did or do to us, but I think it's interesting to discuss about what we do to our own community, because it's strange what happened to us. But I'm happy to be here, and I hope maybe we may discuss about other subjects in the future. But what you said is true, and we try to make sure that things will change in Central Africa. The project we manage, we not just do with Congolese. We put both Congo together and Angola. As you know that Kingdom of Congo was basically these three countries. So we're trying to do what we can do, and as I said, we train people, and I think by the end of the year we may start the construction of the museum, and we do that with our own money. But we will do that, and something will change in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Eric. And by all means, let's stay in touch. I know I texted you earlier, so let's stay in touch, because this is a group of people who, we've already started a conversation. I think that all of us here will be interested in learning more about the project and seeing how we can support. And so please, let's continue that conversation offline. So the next person to speak is Stephanie. And after Stephanie, Emma, you have a question in the chat, which I've seen that you've seen it. So Stephanie Bella, go ahead.
Oh, thank you, everybody. And it's a very interesting discussion, but I just wanted to bring different points. One thing that, and you can see how they supplement some of the thoughts that have already been shared. One thing is, when you look at the international relation landscape where we live in, the world is divided. It's pretty simple between the core and the periphery. That's like a general model. The core countries are the one. Hold on, okay? The core countries are the ones that from way in the past, like they started their development with the Netherlands, getting out of Europe. Today, we call them the rich countries. Those countries, they have every single interest. They are the colonizer, they are the one that are leading into those international institutions, IMF, UN, you name it. They have every single interest to keep Black people and Africa where it is, because we are considered as the periphery. What we represent is a market for them. If we try to get out of the state where we are, meaning trying to achieve the same standard of living, having factories that transform the goods that we have a natural endowment for, having the standard of living that we are here, they will lose money. So as for the pre-colonizing movement that my colleague Stephanie mentioned with Du Bois, if we Black people, we don't come together, this conversation, I can see it in other lives going on again and again, because we have to form a block. They form a block. Think about it. When they talk about Caucasian in America, do they tell you this person, the roots are in Russia, they are in France, or they are in Ireland? They don't. They came together to form a block. However, because of what Frantz Fanon mentioned, mental alienation, we are still struggling with it. We still label ourselves, okay, this is an African American, this is an African, this is the Caribbean, this is the Afro-Latino, this is the Puerto Rican Black. We always go by tribes because we are still struggling with the unit. Even in African countries, if you are originally from Africa, think about your own country. How do people referred? When they know your name, oh, you are from the West. Oh, you are from this group. Oh, you are. Because we are still struggling with nationhood in Africa, and we are still struggling with that collective Black identity. Some people are working very hard because the seed is there. Some people are working very hard to grow the tree, but water is still scarce. It's like a desert. Some days you have water, the tree goes. Some days it's just like there's no water. So what I'm trying to say is the pathway is long, but because the world is divided between the core and the periphery, meaning people who want to have money, who have the money, and those who want to keep the others where they are, or they have not, as they say down in lame language, even the Black people who achieve the financial prominence, they have to play the game. For the most part, they want to maintain that status. That's why sometimes we are surprised. Okay, this person, man, they were struggling with us here in the neighborhood. Man, they made some money. Wow, I even call them, their phone number has changed. Yeah, because they want to belong. And who is the model, quote unquote, that people financially want to follow is the one that the Caucasian have actually spread across the world. So I just want us to, as we are thinking about all the change, even the curriculum and all of that, why don't they want us to change the books? I take the case of Cameroon. Our books are printed in France in 2024. The school books. Why? Can the Cameroonian print it? Because all that follows an agenda, but we have to come collectively as Black people. It will take time, but I'm very optimistic, especially with the new generation. They are way ahead in spite of what people say. I think that they are doing what is called leapfrogging. They will not follow the pattern, no. They will jump ahead, but we just have to lend a hand wherever we can. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. So Emma, you have the question that was posed in the chat.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it really follows what Dr. Stephanie just said, which is Eric Prince, the BlackRock guy who went into Iraq. The man who made the United States go into Iraq was recently overheard in a nationally transmitted interview suggesting that America retake Africa. He blatantly, pointedly said there's nothing stopping them. There's no reason. No African country can take care of themselves. He's like, this is no longer a secret. Everybody in the world can see. They cannot manage themselves. So he said, what are we waiting for? We have every reason to do it. It's a part of the earth that's rich and it's being wasted. And this is the guy who made America go into Baghdad. So, not to be alarmist, but one of the problems we have is we're not very comfortable building infrastructure. And the way we frame, like, I listened carefully to what you said, Stephanie, like, the tribes, tribal thing is a human thing. But I think tribes come together when they really recognize that there is one purpose. And some of us don't understand this is survivor. This is about surviving. This is an existential struggle. Some of us just really think, you know, we come, we get our book, or we get our this, and life goes on, and it's all good. You know, we dance like Tinubu, and everything is fine. So, but that's not real life, you know. This is an existential struggle. And I think when those tribes recognize that coming together and building infrastructure is necessary, like I look at the US system, the US system is twofold. One side says, pull yourself up by the bootstrap. The other one says, you know, don't take everything, leave some for other people, you know? But this is the same thing. We have to do both. For me, building infrastructure is pulling yourself up by the bootstraps. So we need advocacy groups. You know, we need official, properly organized lobbying groups. These things don't come and just, I mean, I appreciate going on social media, but we need to be able to get in a room where the discussions are happening, where the decision makers are, and we need to be able to apply pressure. And if we cannot directly, we need to align ourselves with people who want to do that, as many as possible, because I think it's existential. If Eric Prince, and you know, they put a lot of money into trying to make this conservative thing come back. Another report, they have the guy in the house now is their man. A few more things can go on, and the next thing you see, it's not just terrorists now in Africa. You see them sending actual, you know, infrastructure to start building in Africa. And because I don't doubt this guy is serious. He's the same guy who went into Baghdad. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, so now, you know, we've talked about, a few of you have touched upon the global scale and what governments can do, but really, I believe everything, right? We saw it even with Dr. Booker T. Washington. Everything is grassroots. So how would you say, let me put it this way, what would you say to me as an African immigrant living in the United States today? And with the understanding that, okay, we have to bridge the gap between me, where I come from, and where I am now as an immigrant living in the United States and faced with the realities of being Black. I'm no longer Cameroonian, I'm Black. What do I need to do? What do I need to do to find my place, so to speak? Does that make sense? Does my question make sense?
Yes, it does. So for me, I think that your question should be also broken down in two, because you have African immigrants that came, like they're the first to come here, but you do have those that were born here that are navigating both systems. So the response that maybe Fofo's child, my brother, and my future how can I say, graduate, Kevin, will be different from me, because Kevin was born and raised here. So the reason I'm saying that is because the children that are born here, they have a different sense of their identity. Their identity is different. When you ask them to define themselves, it might not be the same as their parent. So me, as the first, what I really wish there was more, going back to what Emma has said, it's an exchange of advocacy training. Because what I have seen is you have many African organizations that are like grassroots, that are evolving all over the place because the immigrant population is there, right? However, they don't work together. They don't work together. The only time you see that together is when there is an African-American event to celebrate Blackness or maybe Caribbean. That's when you tend to see them together. But it has to be ongoing. It shouldn't just be when we have June for the carnival for the Caribbean, or maybe February for the African American month that we are, it should be ongoing. That exercise should, because that's how you have synergies. You learn from each other. And I give you one example that is very simple. In Montgomery County, and Fofo can even pitch in. In Montgomery County, there was a time where there was a lot of violence. That was, a lot of Black boys were being shot by police. But they were not African Americans. They were African boys. But because us Africans, we are not as vocal, people didn't even know that the boys shot were Africans. They were, oh, another Black boy. Oh, everybody assumed, oh, they were African. No, they were Africans. However, if there are these ongoing synergies where there's a network where we just don't come once a year, twice a year, or at a barbecue or a soccer game, we will be able to start training people on self-advocacy, on organizing, because it's a skill. Let's face it, a lot of Africans, we don't like to go in front of people and say, hey, do this and do that, because people have a past, a traumatic experience from home. The police have kicked people, some people, the army just destroyed their family. So people are traumatized by seeing a uniform. Not that African Americans don't have their own issues with the slave patrols and police, but African immigrants in the US don't like to really be in an environment where you have the police for a myriad of reasons. But to create a lobbying, to be able to exchange, we need to be in an environment where you have police. At least they will protect the officials that are there. So we should be comfortable speaking in public, but we have to work together. Because if we don't know the skill set that is in our midst, it will be tough to achieve a goal. We have to really build on each other's strengths. So, thank you.
Yes, Stephanie.
Yeah, what I can add is that we can redefine the platform that we have now using the random gathering of eating and dancing to talk about politics. That's something that, yeah, I saw in Virginia where I was. As I told you, we were welcomed by the KKK. It was so difficult. I spent a year trying to hide, but finally I found a group of Black people working out in the morning, 3 times a week, and I went there. And that was not only a platform to exercise, but we were using it to talk about mental health, to talk about politics, and sometimes we meet to watch movies. So when we have the barbecues, we can use that occasion to throw those type of topic or subject discussion during our meeting. That's how maybe we can attract people. We are from African, and we were trained, traumatized not to talk about politics. So when it comes to speak up or to speak out, many among us don't want to do that. But if we use all those events where we gather to start building our lobby, maybe with the time that can work.
Thank you. And everything starts from education, right? This is an opportunity. We're learning from both Stephanies, we're learning from one another. Different people have different experiences and perspectives. So thank you for that input. Does anybody else want to share anything? Especially those we haven't heard from. Mr. Stephen has been listening very closely there. Not to put you on the spot, but we have a few people we haven't heard of. So if you're willing, please, would like to hear your insights as well.
Okay, I'll come in here. I have been listening with very keen interest, and I appreciate the presentation very well. I've been very concerned about the subject matter, and the inputs are very good. So my name is Stephen Doichine, and I'm from Liberia in West Africa. I'm sure a lot of you know. I realized that there are no West Africans on the group. Is Cameroon in West Africa? I thought West Africa stopped at Nigerian border.
Some of us place us in Central West, so whatever that
You
is.
have
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
Fofo and Eme? Isn't that
Right?
West Africa?
Yeah.
Where? Where?
Fofo and Eme, that's West Africa, right? Mm.
Mhm.
Mm.
Oh, please go ahead.
Okay, you're right. Okay, so no,
Yeah.
that's the point. So the first definition, I mean, you know, and I like the both speakers, you know, especially Manzi comes with definition of what is black, who is black, um, who's American or who's African, as the case will be. So we cannot integrate with other black people on unless we are integrated ourselves. And I grew up in West Africa. I went to school in West Africa, and I was fortunate to travel as a student leader into several African countries. We had uh, advocacy programs in Ghana, Nigeria, uh, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Kenya, and I've met West Africans from all over the place. The first problem I have with Africans is that the only thing we have in common is our black skin. We can all walk, as Stephanie said, if we all walk in an auditorium together, all black, all the people would just say, oh, some black people just came in. And that is true for, so, okay, colonial effect on Africans was the first instance. And we who are modern and are more educated can work out ways to override that. The colonial powers separated us in language grouping, and the Anglophone and the Francophone, you know, very little, and the Francophone and the whatever, very little interaction. So I'm from Liberia, and Liberia is right next to the Ivory Coast. And in many cases, I'm on the airport in Brussels, and the Ivorian there, you know, just looking at me. I mean, you know, I can see a little bit of bonjour, ça va, you know, and what have you. No discussion, that interchange. It will be a little different if I met the Nigerian or the Ghanaian, and we may be able to talk or certain to do. So yeah, somebody put Arabic too for Africa. Yeah. So the first thing we need to do here in this case is to get ourselves together as Africans. Get ourselves, we are all black people, but let us make sure we see each other as brothers and sisters. Kwame Nkrumah said there is no liberation of the African on any African unless all Africans are liberated. There is no regarding you as a brother, as a sister, unless you can regard every black person out of that continent as your brother and your sister. So for Black History Month, that's the first instance. And then the second instance, when we come to America, which I have experienced. I made a lot of friends with Black Americans who feel themselves a distance. And I engage one who are more intelligent. Why don't you feel that I'm your? Why don't you feel that I'm your brother? Oh man, you my brother. Or no, I'm not talking about a nomenclature. I'm not talking about designation. I'm talking about sincerely from the heart. Why don't you say, man, you know, you people from the continent, you just think yourself different. You just think yourself, really? And in Minnesota, they call a Black People's Meeting. And a friend of mine from Sierra Leone American, I mean, American citizen, and she went to the meeting and they asked her to leave. this meeting is for Black Americans, not you Black Africans. And we go like, really? And okay, my sister was, you can tell, was completely furious. However, my argument to her is no problem. We Africans, we the big brother. It's like we were playing in the yard. You saw Kunta Kinte, the movie when it came out. We were the brothers. We were playing in the yard, and the white man came from in the well, a black man came, like Imam said, a black man came from in the yard and grabbed my little brother and took him to the white man, and that little brother, the white man, put him in that big boat and sailed him across the ocean. I lost a brother. I'm African. I'm living and born in Africa, but I lost a brother. So it is my desire, my interest to go looking for my brother. And so I always tell my fellow Africans here that the onus is upon us to break that stereotypic dissolve between Africans, of the resentment between Africans and African Americans. And we can break it by letting them know that I don't care what you think, you're my brother. You know, I didn't get this color on my skin from the hospital when my mom went to deliver. The doctor didn't paint me this way. And the thing that painted me this way is the same thing that painted you that way. And we cannot be painted the same way unless we are related. So there is a whole lot of grassroots definitions that Black people, whether you're from Africa or from America or from the Caribbean, should deploy, should introduce in the relationship issues, and to make ourselves relax and feel at ease with one another. If we don't do that, we will keep struggling, just how the in the Caribbean. I was in St. Croix, and we had a program on the beach, and I was asked to make a remark, and I looked and I said, you see that ocean? Look at that ocean. Beyond that ocean are where your brothers are. They're where you come from. I came from beyond that ocean to here. The only thing that divided us is that ocean. And we should only let it be that ocean that divide us. But we are us. So I hope Africans will develop that mentality. I hope African Americans will develop that mentality. I hope Caribbeans will develop that mentality. And then we will fulfill what Kwame Nkrumah was talking about, brotherhood of Africa.
Thank you so very much. So I just wanted to note that we are past our time of 8 p.m. So if there are, that's quite all right. Thank you for your contribution.
I'm sorry.
No, not at all. This is a very interesting conversation. We can go on and on and on, but I just want to, acknowledge the fact that we had said 8. So if it's okay with you, are there any last contributions especially for those we haven't heard from? You can maybe keep it short, but we just want to hear from you. Yes, Fofo, please. You froze there for a second, Fofo, and we can't hear you. Uh-oh. Okay, please go ahead. Uh-oh. No, it's breaking up.
Yeah, it's like there's a delay.
Oh.
Maybe block the video so that you can speak.
Oh. You want to try to pause the video and see if it works? Okay, go ahead. Uh-oh. No, it's breaking up. And we just, uh-oh. Okay, let's try it. We'll try again. Anyone else?
This is just to quickly address the point that was made about being able to walk and chew gum. Can we come together on the continent, as well as make some advances towards our African American brothers? I think yes. One of the things I realize about this topic is very, very emotional. People, imagine people, generations of different versions of this same thing has been taught to families over and over again. And so people have a very emotional sort of reasoning when it comes to this topic. But I'm the first to encourage us to be happy in our uniqueness and our differences. That is not a barrier, in my opinion. I think one of the beautiful things one of the advantages we have as Africans is we are so many, and the level of innovation deeply within us is infinite. And I think we can reinvent ourselves with very little effort. And I think the first place to reinvent ourselves is to say, difference is not bad. There's beauty in this difference. The way we've been segregated to think the only thing that makes us feel bad is when we attach other things to difference, other values to the difference, like how close are you to white man? That is the biggest problem we have. Once you add that value, we hate each other. But the difference itself is beautiful. And I think we can build on that and just use that. And we have to reinvent it. We are good at this. Let's reinvent ourselves. And if we can teach that across the board, I think that's half the job right there.
Okay, thank you, Emma. And Fufu is back with us. So Fufu, oh, there.
Yeah. Can you hear me? It's better now?
Much better.
Yeah. Yeah. What I was saying, it was a great presentation, and also to have a chance to get us together tonight to talk about something is very important. And most of the time, we don't see how big it is, but we just play the ignorance. Being African, being this country, I believe we also should have a role to play for the change, or maybe play a role of the teacher, because even if people who are here as a Black don't even know their history, and even we who come from Africa, the same story was not teaching. So, but today we see a lot of elevation, and a MAN movement started since 1995 in France, who will be able to create a group we call Afro-Franco-African. And our goal is to play the role instrumental of teaching the culture, because we believe whereas the music and dance, people can really melt into listen or fail to be adapted to situation. So what we put that group together was a group who Caribbean, like people from Antilles, Guadeloupe, Réunion, and then we as African who's immigrated to France, and then the white people who are curious trying to learn our culture. So we blended that group, and then it's just a group of a shared culture, party, create an event, Creole music, African music, and you see how the movement grew, the movement of negritude grew. And it was so powerful to see how people live hate, or people live how we get down, or we not get respect, but to know the way we eat, the way we dance, the way we wear our clothes, the way we're so proud of our, who we are, people start respecting. And they come here, I'm always having my mind to do that option of teaching, and I'll have a chance to be on the school system. Even in the school system, it's just a way paragraph we always put on the table, on the board, every month of February, to blend people's eye to say, oh, this is Black History Month, and then that's it. But what we do over 20 years, I do over 20 years, is continue the same story. How can we let people know who we are? The difference between everybody and us, we see Black, and then we're going to be seeing Black. We're Black. So, and then we are Black, but we have so many potential. So many things we have, and some people don't have it. It come to us now to be a way to change, or maybe play advocacy. Some people are here tonight calling the name of lobby. We can play our lobby. If we put in ourselves, each one play a role of a teacher who trying to translate something from your home country, who nobody or anybody here can know where you're from, who you are, the way you do things on your place before you come here. I believe that person who have a respect for you. So over 20 years in the school system, I'm always have a way to share the culture, the drumming, how we wear clothing, how we the food. So all those kind of stuff, it was my page doing it every year in the school system. And believe me, every year people come say, wow, in Togo or in Africa, or what about these clothes? What kind of season they wear these clothes? These clothes you wear, is they have a reason, they have a name. Even in the name we stick in ourselves. When people hear your name, those who are curious will come to you. What is the meaning of your name? So, and I see today, most of our Black American or African American is going back to the roots, are taking our name now. So many of them are taking the name. If you hear the name, they're going to maybe do their DNA tests to know how come the percentage they have from this African country, what is the name. And so we need to continue the movement to be advocate, to be a teacher, because for so many years I've been in this country, see what's going on. Behind, for me, I'm always say is a culture, and that culture need to be selling. And that culture need to be preserved, let people know who we are. And then we throw the slavery to what we are today. We are a strong gem, and then we don't crack easy, and then we don't fail easy. But to do that, like my brother Stefan said, those who are here are always jealous about what we have every day. And I see and I hear it. But once they know you, once they can come close to you and eat your food and then enjoy and then listen to your music and then try to ask you, how can I go home? How can I go to the motherland? And over 10 years in Ghana opened the door for so many who are resident today in the motherland. They don't want to come back here. So I'm not going to say too long, and I hear a lot of people say a lot of stuff, but we need to continue to be a teacher. We have a story to tell, like the way our ancestor, our grandfather was a storyteller. We carry the same gene. We can do that. We can continue to do it. For those who can have a way to listen to us, they will listen, and they might be changed their talk, the way they perceive, the way they think, and they will find a way to go home, or we can change the way we have to live together, because it is so many distance between them and us. Even if we carry the same skin color, but they always pushing us to the wall, jealousy, trying to know exactly what we have and they don't have it. But to stop, Muawe urge anybody. So this should be something we do frequently. We come back next year more well prepared, and then bring more people to be something, you know, to leg it to the next generation. Even if bring our kids who can know where their father coming from, their culture, and the culture we lived on their hand, also to for their own and self to make the judgment to know how they can present what we brought from somewhere to give it to them, and what they are having here, so they can make it their own way. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that is exactly, I mean, on those amazing words of wisdom, right? And all of you have shared amazing words of wisdom, and that's exactly what we strive to do at House of Djeli. Like you said, the jelly being the grill, right? We all are storytellers. So we'll bring all of us together in the house so that we can have conversations that would propel us forward, you know, personally and collectively. So link us all by email. Sure, I can do that. And also this has been recorded, so I will also share the link so that you can view it and perhaps share with your networks. So with that said, thank you so very much, all of you, for your contributions. This is definitely, like Fofo said, something that we should continue this dialogue, because we're Black 365 days a year, not just for the month of February. So let's continue this offline. And yes, I will link up everybody, and I wish you a great evening wherever you are, because I know we have people from the West Coast and the East Coast. So thank you all, and I wish you a great evening and weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Mhm.
Yeah, bye-bye.